Body buried in concrete.
Not just any police officer. She represented something rare. She was one of the very few black women to serve in the New Orleans Police Department in the 1990s.
Okay.
On the outside, she was the picture of progress and professionalism. But behind the uniform, behind the badge, something was very wrong. Even during her police training, warning signs were everywhere. She failed multiple psychological evaluations. Experts said she was emotionally unstable, prone to manipulation, and had trouble distinguishing reality from fantasy. Despite all this, the department moved her forward.
That is creepy.
They needed to fill their diversity quota, and she became a badge they could parade around. She was assigned to routine patrols, but also picked up extra shifts working security. One of those jobs was at a small, tight-knit Vietnamese restaurant called Kim An. The owners were humble, hard-working immigrants. Their children worked there too, 17-year-old Quang Vu and his older sister Ha. They treated Officer Frank like family, but Frank wasn't coming to work alone. She had started dating a 19-year-old known drug dealer named Rogers Lacaze. Their relationship quickly grew toxic and dangerous. Frank, the cop, and Lacaze, the criminal, became inseparable. And then, they became co-conspirators. On March 4th, 1995, Frank and Lacaze showed up at the restaurant. But this time, it wasn't for a security shift. They were both armed. They weren't there to protect the business. They were there to rob it and kill anyone who got in their way.
That's crazy.
Inside, Officer Ronald Williams II was working that night. A fellow NOPD officer, a father, a husband. Lacaze shot him point blank in the head. Frank did nothing to stop it. She stood by as her own partner was executed. Then they turned to the Vu siblings. Quang and Ha were forced into the freezer at gunpoint. The doors closed. The shots echoed. 6 rounds hit Quang, 3 hit Ha, cold, calculated, execution style. But there was someone they didn't see. 17-year-old Chow Vu, the youngest sibling, was hiding in a second freezer. She had seen Officer Frank earlier. She recognized her voice. She heard every shot. And then, the unimaginable. Frank returned to the scene minutes later, not as a suspect, but in full police uniform.
No.
She pretended to be investigating the murder. She called out to the survivors. "You killed my friends?" Trying to flip the narrative, trying to erase what had just happened. But Chow didn't buy it. Shaking, bleeding, traumatized, she told investigators what she saw. And suddenly the officer wasn't the hero anymore. She was the monster. The investigation moved quickly. Surveillance footage, witness testimony, and ballistic evidence tied both Frank and Lacaze to the crime. But Frank's betrayal hit differently. She was one of them. She wore the uniform. She swore an oath. And then she used that badge to walk into a restaurant and leave 3 bodies behind.
Sick.
In court, the trial was brutal. Frank showed no emotion. Families of the victims wept in the gallery. Chow Vu testified against the woman she once trusted. And after all the evidence was laid bare, the jury didn't need long to decide. 22 minutes. That's how long it took to sentence Antoinette Frank to death. Today, nearly 30 years later, she remains on Louisiana's death row, the only woman still waiting for execution.
What they waiting on?
What makes this story so terrifying isn't just the violence, it's the betrayal. Frank wasn't a criminal hiding in the shadows. She was in uniform. She had the authority to arrest, to protect, to uphold the law. And instead, she turned that power into a weapon. This wasn't just a crime. It was an execution carried out by someone the community trusted most. And just when you think this is as dark as it gets, the next case...
She a sicko for that. She is a sicko. The fact that she showed back up on the scene in her uniform and then gonna act like who killed these people? It was you. It was you. You a sicko. When they put people on death row, why it take so long for them to like execute them? Like, why does it take so long? Some people be up for death row for like he said, like 30 years and still waiting. Like, what are you waiting on? Did the judge die by then, or like what? Like, what are you waiting on? The whole time she been sitting here for 30 years thinking about, dang, I don't know when my time gonna come. Any moment now. She probably thinking this year one. Any moment now they can call me down and I get the chair. Year 2 passed by. Any moment now. Year 10 passed by. Dang, they still ain't done it yet? Year 15 passed. Man, they not finna kill me. I'm just here to pass time. My time be up by the time they sentence me. Year 20 get here? Hey, officers, why am I still on this unit? Put me in Gen Pop. Year 30? Bro, my time is almost up. My time is almost up. Let me out of here. Like, that's wild. That's wild.
It shows what happens when a crime scene expert decides to cover up her own murder with concrete. Officer Ronald Williams II wasn't just another name on the force. He was a 6-year veteran of the department, well-respected and deeply involved in his community. He had a wife, 2 young children, and was known for mentoring new recruits. The night he died, he was simply doing a favor, filling in on a quiet off-duty shift to help out a friend. He never expected to be ambushed by someone who wore the same uniform he did.
Facts.
In court, the most heartbreaking moment came when Williams' widow took the stand. Through tears, she described how her son still asked when his father was coming home. "How do you tell a child," she said, "that his daddy was killed by someone who was supposed to be his teammate?" The courtroom went silent. Even the judge looked shaken. When the victim's family members addressed the court during sentencing, they didn't just ask for punishment, they demanded answers. "Why?" they asked. "Why did you do it? Why didn't you just take the money and leave?" But Frank offered nothing. No apology, no explanation, just silence. Her lack of remorse became one of the deciding factors in her death sentence. Prosecutors painted her as cold, calculating, and completely devoid of empathy. The jury agreed. The judge didn't mince words either, calling her actions the deepest betrayal of public trust imaginable. The media exploded. Headlines across the country branded her the killer cop.
That's crazy.
Night after night, television anchors replayed the footage of her return to the crime scene, in uniform, pretending to investigate the very murder she helped commit. It was the kind of story the public couldn't turn away from. A real-life horror film, except this one was true. Even in prison, Frank remained a mystery. Guards described her as quiet, polite, even chillingly normal. She never confessed, never explained her motive. To this day, no one knows exactly why she did it. Was it greed? Was it thrill? Was it love for the cause? Maybe it was all of it, or none of it. And that's what makes her story so terrifying. She didn't snap, she planned. She walked in with a badge and left behind 3 bodies. In the decades since, Louisiana has executed few women. Her appeals have stalled, and while many forget her name, the families of her victims never do. Every holiday, every birthday, every quiet moment, they remember what was taken and who took it.
Yeah, the victims can't forget about something like that. Why would they forget about something like that? Especially if she never even talked. She never said anything, the reason why. She crazy. She is nutty. And it's people like that walking around right now, free. Just waiting for an opportunity.
Antoinette Frank sits in a 6x9 cell waiting. The last uniform she'll ever wear won't be blue, it'll be prison gray. And this was just the first case. Ashley MacArthur seemed like someone you could trust. She'd worked as a crime scene technician for the sheriff's office, cleaned up horrors you and I can't imagine. She had a respected job, knew the forensic system inside and out, and even ran her family's jukebox and pool table rental business in Pensacola, Florida. But beneath that trusted exterior, something darker was growing. In September 2017, 33-year-old Taylor Wright, a former Jacksonville police officer turned private investigator, vanished. She was facing a fierce custody battle after months of divorce, and the court had ordered her to withdraw $100,000 to pay legal fees.
Sheesh.
Wanting to keep it safe, she gave $34,000 to Ashley MacArthur just in case. That's when Taylor's life changed forever. The last time she was seen alive, she was on a date, not with a man, but with her girlfriend, a school administrator named Cassandra Waller. Taylor had moved in with Cassandra that weekend, hopeful about a new chapter, but then she texted, "I need a few days to think," and she disappeared. Cassandra insisted something was wrong. Taylor never ghosted without explanation, but Ashley told police Taylor was emotional and went riding and never returned. For days, Ashley claimed she didn't know where Taylor was, but investigators started to connect dots that didn't match her story. Cell phone records supposedly placing them riding in East Milton pointed instead to a secluded farm owned by Ashley's aunt and uncle, far from horseback trails.
Stupid.
Then came the financial trail. Ashley deposited Taylor's $34,000 check into her own account. Surveillance footage showed Ashley buying bags of cement and potting soil the day after Taylor vanished. Concrete? In a crime scene expert's world, red flag. Weeks passed with no sign of Taylor until detectives executed a search warrant at the farm. Using K9 units and excavators, they uncovered a shallow grave covered in concrete and potting soil. Inside was a skull, fractured by a bullet hole.
Dang.
Beside it lay Taylor's signature bullet necklace. There was no doubt. Private investigator Taylor Wright was dead and buried by her friend.
See, they don't cover up their tracks, man. They don't cover up their tracks. First of all, it is almost impossible to get away like with a murder now. I don't even know what year this was, but you got caught at an ATM with your transactions, depositing a check. That saw you. Using your cell phone, they picked it up over the GPS. They was able to locate where you were using your cell phone. Like, it's almost impossible. What up, Mott? It's almost impossible.
Taylor had one gunshot wound to the back of her head. Investigators later said it was a clean, execution-style killing. At Ashley's murder trial in August 2019, the courtroom became a stage for betrayal and cold calculation. Prosecutors presented the unshoppable story. Taylor drove to Ashley's believing she would get her money back. Instead, Ashley lured her to the farm, shot her once in the back of the head, then encased her body in concrete.
Dang.
She lied about their location, tried to throw investigators off the trail, and even took Taylor's phone to send reassuring texts to calm her girlfriend. Testimonies revealed Ashley's double life. She admitted skimming funds from the family business, jukebox income. To cover it up, she allegedly set a fire at the business to destroy records. She used part of Taylor's money to pay off credit cards to fuel a secret romance, and left Taylor with empty promises. One friend testified Ashley bragged about buying cocaine to spike Taylor's beer to stage a drug overdose. When that didn't work, she pulled the trigger.
Hey, the whole time she is. I ain't want to say it because she a killer, but hey, chill out.
Outside the courtroom, emotion boiled over. Taylor's foster mom, Nancy Murchison, choked back tears. "I need answers. She would not have taken off. Something horrible happened to her." Her girlfriend, Cassandra, echoed the pain. "I lost her. She was my best friend. Ashley took someone I loved." In just 4 days, the jury reached a verdict. Guilty of first-degree premeditated murder.
Of course.
Life in prison without parole for at least 25 years. Ashley never took the stand. She didn't cry. She didn't ask for forgiveness, perhaps knowing none would come.
Fact.
Today, she serves her sentence in Florida's Lowell Correctional Institution, a maximum security women's prison. What happened here wasn't a crime of passion. It was cold, calculating, and deeply personal. Petty theft escalated to murder, committed by someone trained to...
She might get conjugal visits, man. You might want to look that up. Visit her on a Sunday.
Solve crime. Taylor's community lost more than a private investigator. They lost a mother, a mentor, a partner in healing. The ripple effects of Ashley's betrayal are still felt today. And that betrayal, it cuts deep. Not just because she killed a friend, but because she manipulated tragedy to silence her victim, to justify the lies. Ashley's history of manipulation didn't start with Taylor. Friends and acquaintances described her as charming on the outside, but often controlling behind closed doors.
Yeah.
She had a tendency to spin stories, play people against each other, and hide details even from those closest to her. At one point, she faked damage reports to collect insurance money from her business, using a fire she allegedly set herself to destroy financial records. Those same records were being used in a lawsuit against her at the time. She had been married before, but kept details of her previous relationships guarded. Even her family seemed unaware of just how deeply she was spiraling.
The crazy part is, like, you never know people. You never know people. How you get married and then you don't tell. Like, I get it. Certain stuff you don't tell. You, like, keep certain stuff to yourself. But come on, man. You married. You living this double life. Like, you charming. That's just... Be careful. That's all I'm saying. Just be careful who you associate yourself with, because you never know who throw it off.
One detective later told local reporters, she had the perfect cover. People assumed she was clean because she worked with police. But when you looked deeper, you realized this woman had been lying to everyone for years.
Manipulated everybody.
At trial, the prosecution played a short recording of Ashley joking with friends just days after Taylor vanished. In it, she casually mentions wanting to get away for a bit because things were getting messy. When asked what she meant, she laughed and said, "It's all just concrete and secrets, baby."
Wow.
The courtroom gasped.
Wow.
Taylor's sister sobbed as she recounted how Taylor had trusted Ashley with everything, including fears about her ex-husband, financial stress, and even protection. Ashley was supposed to be her safe person, but she became her executioner. The state presented over 50 pieces of evidence, from shovel receipts to text messages to GPS logs. The defense had almost nothing, no alibi, no alternative theory, just silence. In her closing argument, the prosecutor said she knew where to bury the body. She knew how to hide the evidence, but what she couldn't bury was her guilt. And just like that, one of the most shocking betrayals ever committed by someone inside the law ended with a life sentence behind bars. Officer Megan Hall walked into the La Vergne, Tennessee police.
Stupid. Stupid! You are stupid. You threw your life away over a few dollars because you got... America is crazy. America is definitely crazy.